Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, fresh clashes erupt near the Eastern Congolese city of Goma as an armed vigilante group attacks M23 rebel positions. The army arrests the attacker in a bid to safeguard the fragile ceasefire deal with the militants. Also, African migrants in Tunisia say that they don't know where to turn to, months after widespread discrimination and attacks were sparked by racist comments by President Kais Saied. Some migrants were arrested this week at tense sit-ins in Tunis. And we meet Ghanaian artist Joseph Hoggar as he continues to wow international collectors with his interpretations of old masters. His painstaking process transposes contemporary reimaginings of classic Veritas paintings to everyday African settings. But first, the Congolese army has arrested 59 men accused of attacking M23 militia fighters on Wednesday morning. The men claim to be Congolese patriots known as the Wazalendo. The military's gone out of its way to emphasize that it was not connected to the raid near Goma. The M23 has terrorized and brutally captured several communities across North Kivu in eastern DR Congo ever since it re-emerged from dormancy in late 2021. However, since February, it has started pulling its fighters back from some territories as part of a ceasefire deal. But for many, the damage has already been done. More than 600,000 people have been displaced by the militia attacks over the last couple of years.
Thomas Buageya wishes he could be studying for his final school exams. But instead, he's doing odd jobs in a displaced people's camp in the Democratic Republic of Congo, after a wave of rebel violence disrupted his life once again.
When I'm in the camp and I see students from Goma in their final year like me, it hurts my heart, because I can't continue my studies because of the war. When I see them passing and others doing their internships, it really hurts my heart. I wonder when I will finish my studies. The years are passing by.
Buageya fled the town of Kibumba, located about 20 kilometers from Goma, with his family last October, after a renewed offensive by the M23 rebel group. It's the third time in 15 years that they've been forced to flee.
My studies started to get disrupted with the war. We fled to Kanyaruchinya. We spent a whole year there. And in 2012, we fled there again for almost a whole year.
Buageya is among 750,000 young Congolese whose schooling has been put on pause because of insecurity in the DRC's eastern region. On Wednesday, fresh clashes with M23 rebels erupted near Kibumba. The attack has ruptured weeks of calm, as troops from the regional East African community oversee an intended M23 withdrawal from the region.
In Tunisia, the status of some migrants and asylum seekers is still in limbo. On Tuesday, several Sudanese, Yemeni and Nigerian nationals who'd been holding a 2-month sit-in in front of the UN High Commission for Refugees were kicked out. 30 people are still in custody. It's the latest episode in a deepening crisis for African migrants who want to leave Tunisia but don't want to go back to their countries of origin.
In this amateur video filmed by a migrant from Guinea on Tuesday, April 11th, men, women and children in Tunis flee the smoke from police tear gas. Police forced them from their sit-in outside of the office of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. The following day, we tracked down some of those chased away. Audia from Darfur in Sudan doesn't know where to go anymore.
It's been weeks that we've had nothing to eat. We can't anymore. We live in the street, hungry.
The Tunisian government says that refugees were moved after the UN High Commissioner complained that some were trying to enter the building. Authorities also accuse migrants of vandalizing nearby cars. Nasra from Yemen had to evacuate the area with her 6 children.
You think we want to stay here? We're asking everyone to be evacuated to another country. No one wants to stay here.
In this camp in front of the International Organization for Migration, many have been waiting for help for months. In February, we met Mohammed, who was sleeping there with his brothers. He had been evicted after a racially charged speech by President Kais Saied sparked a wave of persecution of black African migrants.
It's really hard, but we have to be brave.
Today, the situation hasn't changed much. He's still in limbo.
Parce que c'est le mois de Ramadan, moi-même je n'arrive pas à jeûner. Parce que tout l'endroit est sale, on ne vit pas dans les bonnes conditions.
Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights fears the latest unrest could spark more public backlash against migrants.
It's not just the images of Tunisian citizens' cars being broken that were published by the Interior Ministry or by Tunisian media. Okay, we stand with those people, but we aren't going to use those images and this rhetoric to adopt discriminatory and racist rhetoric against migrants and refugees.
The UNHCR issued a statement condemning what it called violent protests of migrants entering its premises, but added that it understood their fears and frustrations.
At least one person's been killed and dozens have been injured in Senegal in a recent rash of violent clashes between fishing communities. The skirmishes escalated quickly after being originally triggered by arguments over the use of illegal fishing nets. 40 people are now due to face trial. On Wednesday, that was postponed to Friday. Now, the charges include assault and destruction of property. But more widely, overfishing by trawlers from China, Russia, Turkey and the EU is exacerbating the impact of a scarcity of marine resources that it having dire consequences for the continent's coastal communities. Sam Bradpeace tells us more.
Clashes between fishermen from the Kaya and Mboro communities have involved fistfights and fire. It all began when Kaya fishermen burned monofilament fishing nets belonging to their Mboro counterparts. These fishing nets are technically illegal under Senegalese law because they're very tightly woven and tend to ensnare any marine life that comes their way, including small fish which are not fit for consumption but play a vital role in the marine ecosystem. So after the Kaya fishermen burned these nets, there were several violent skirmishes at sea. The Mboro were very angry about the burning, and this led to dozens of injuries and at least one death, according to sources from both communities. On Friday, 40 people will be tried in connection with the violence. The head of the Kaya community, on the other hand, told me that he wants all of those accused on both sides to be released. For him, the only solution can come from the Senegalese government better enforcing the ban on monofilament fishing nets. Greenpeace, meanwhile, say that an underlying driver of this conflict is simply overfishing and the rarity of sea resources.
Now, Ghanaian Joseph Hoggar has been described as one of the most promising artists of a new generation of creators from the continent. Collectors from around the world have been snapping up his huge canvases that often combine exquisite portraits with dark, funny, stark or disturbing symbolism. He's been inspired by the vanitas themes that originate from medieval European funerary art, but transposed into an African context. He's in Paris for his first solo exhibition and has very kindly taken time out of his schedule to come and see us here at France 24. Joseph, thanks so much for coming in.
Welcome.
Now, I've seen some of your stuff. It is amazing. Tell us more about your inspiration, because, you know, as I mentioned there, you're actually inspired by kind of old masters' works from Europe.
Yeah. So, from my kid times, I've really wanted to be a great painter. Looking at old master paintings, I've been really interested in creating paintings that, seemingly, let's say, look realistic. So, old master paintings are paintings that really inspired me. And I looked up to artists like contemporary artists like Kehinde Wiley. I've looked through a lot of his paintings, and they really inspire me.
And so, actually, I mean, when I say that you've been inspired by, there's some pieces that you have done that are actually kind of directed reinterpretations of specific paintings, like Vermeer's the Milkmaid, and you've got one that's called. What did you call it? You call it the Water Maid, but it's an interpretation of Vermeer's Milkmaid.
Yes.
For you, is that just a deliberate attempt to try and reimagine something, or are you just inspired by a specific work, and then what comes out just happens to bear a similarity to the original old master's work?
Yeah. So after getting inspired by the old master painting, then I try my best to do an analysis and change the analysis of the old master paintings to my analysis, representing them with my iconographical let me say, iconographic objects from the Vanitas painting. So what I do is I take any old master painting at all from any era, then I try as much as possible to link it to the iconographic ideas of the Vanitas art of the 16th and 17th century paintings.
And actually, your process is very painstaking. It's very specific. Just talk us through your approach when you're making one of these huge canvases that you're exhibiting.
Okay, so after getting the old master painting I'm interested in appropriating, I get particular models for the painting, and those models come from my family circle, my friend circle. So I take these figures to the seamstress to get them particular dresses that they will be using in my photo shoot, which will be translated into the painting. So
wait, so you make sure that they actually have specific clothing made specially for the picture from which you're going to be painting.
Exactly.
Wow.
And even sometimes they are dresses. I mean, they are shoes, maybe slippers or something, watches, or they are quite particular.
So you're really precise with the curation of the original image that you'll then be painting.
Yes.
And do you feel that you are an African artist? I mean, is this something that, when you look at the paintings that you're exhibiting, all of the subjects seem to be wearing very kind of easily identifiable African clothing. Right. Is that something that is deliberate in terms of the way that you approach your art? Or is that, as you've just suggested, just a reflection of the kind of people around you?
Yeah. Okay, so I would say I'm an African artist, one, because I was born in Africa, and also the African traditional prints are intentional to represent my Africanness. Yes. So I'll say, yes, I'm an African artist. I'm trying to see how best I can make the history of African painting, be seen, just like how the European painters are known today. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, so you're exhibiting for your first solo exhibition here in Paris at the Christophe Persson Gallery, and it's just until Saturday.
Yes.
But as this time is coming to an end, you're doing something a bit special for guests on Thursday. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so I'm going to do a performance which is going to last for 30 to 40 minutes. And it's all around the vanity idea, and it's going to be Philippe de Champigny's Life, Death and Time painting. So it's a performance around that, yes.
And so just quickly before we run out of time, just give us a bit of a sense of, what exactly is the Vanitas genre for those who don't know what it is.
Okay, so Vanitas paintings were paintings that were done in the 16th, 17th century, which involved artists like Philippe de Champigny, Hans Holbein, Caravaggio, So these paintings were basically paintings that old masters represented ideas with iconographic objects like the skull, the lantern, the butterfly, let's say a candle, and all other objects to represent what they want to speak about. Yes.
Thank you so much. Well, as I've mentioned, you have just until Saturday to catch Joseph's work at the Christophe Persson Gallery here in Paris, if you're lucky enough to be in the city with time to do so. That is, though, unfortunately, all we have time for Eye on Africa. Thank you, Joseph, so much for coming, and we wish you the very best of luck. Thank you for joining us. Do so again if you can. Take care. See?